Hello, welcome to Elevating Youth Voices, put together by the Institute for Governance and Economic Transformation. My name is Regina Askia Williams, and it is a pleasure to be with you. We are talking about the creative industry, social media, and governance. What is a creative industry? The creative industry would encompass individually generated talents that have the potential for job creation and wealth creation. Okay, this industry is driven by innovation because people are motivated to find a way to hone their skills, develop their talents in such a way that these talents are then marketed to a wide audience of people, and in doing so the marketer improves his or her own personal economy. And when a group of people come together and do this, it translates into a creative industry with its own creative economy, which can definitely drive sustainable growth in any society. So some of those talents that would fall under the creative industry would be like painting, dancing, drama, cultural dances, acting. Nollywood definitely falls under the creative industry. Script writing, anything that you could get intellectual property rights on. Without social media, the creative industry had a limited reach, in that it was able to reach out to just members of the immediate community. But with social media, it was able to expand its reach to an ever-growing virtual audience, bigger opportunities to get seen, bigger opportunities, to make sales. Let us, at this point, look at social media, okay? All right, so now let's jump to social media. What is social media? Social media covers websites and applications that allow users to create contents and share messages to, once again, a wide audience of people, this time virtually. Big brands collaborate with micro-influencers and niche bloggers with messages targeted to reach the ever-expanding virtual audience that are recorded in the number of followers that these influencers have. Okay, the messages they hope will induce buying behavior and product loyalty or consumer loyalty. All right. The influencers create interesting contents that will hold the interest of their viewing audience. Okay, they do that through how-to videos, product demonstration videos, or through photo stories. Okay, and the monetization process is when the influencer gets paid by the brand according to the number of sales or according to the number of people they have been able to reach. The critical currencies here include ability to capture attention, grow the viewership and audience, and also influence buying behavior or product patronage. As technology grows and access to electronic media grows, the audience, the virtual audience of social media will expand exponentially. And so messages will have an ever expanding target audience to reach out to. It is estimated that Nigeria has an upwards of 200 million people and counting. All right, and in sub-Saharan Africa, that's the whole West Africa, there is like 475 million mobile internet users. All right, and then it's also been estimated that 25 million more subscribers will join this population by the year 2025. And Nigeria earns about $134 million daily from social media used by its citizens. All right, so now we have seen the vast reach of social media. We have seen the potential for the audience to continue to expand exponentially, and now we have seen the income earned by the country on the daily basis by social media use. Now that is powerful. The impact and power of social media was very well demonstrated in the recently concluded NSAS movement in Nigeria. All right, let's just examine the process of the NSAS movement and see how the power of social media brought to bear on the success or failure of that movement, so to speak. In this way, we'll be able to appreciate how social media could be used as a tool to influence changes in governance, and also as a tool for social reform. In the recently concluded NSAS movement, young Nigerians who were sick of police brutality as inflicted by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad organized and ran campaigns on and offline, rallied and mobilized thousands of people in waves of protest across the country. The hashtag of NSAS yielded 28 million tweets over one weekend. All right. The social media campaign was amplified by pushing hashtags to global figures and global celebrities who lent their voices to the cause. Not only that, the young people also pushed the hashtags onto global media houses who were forced to cover what was going on in Nigeria, who were forced to report extensively on the protest and the unrest that was going on in Nigeria. By so doing, the government was embarrassed into at least recognizing the protest and doing something about it, even though it turns out that whatever they did about it, was not foundational. It did not translate to the changes that the young people were hoping for. Now, let us at this point appreciate the fact that there was a groundswell of support internationally for this movement that was started by young people from Nigeria online. Okay? Social media enabled them to rally thousands of people on ground, and also enable them to rally hundreds of thousands more across the internet, all right, lending their voices to this cause. How did they support themselves? There was crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. Okay, the organization, the Feminist Coalition, was able to raise like $55,000 in support of this movement. They bought food, they supported the protesters, they provided legal services to those that were arrested, and they paid medical bills for those who were injured and were in the hospital. Okay, this movement began as an organic movement on Facebook, WhatsApp, and Twitter. There were no leaders. Okay, essentially what was happening in total was that the young people of Nigeria were able to speak directly, speaking up without fear, okay? Tapping into digital tools to make themselves heard by an older generation of leaders, okay? Social media had become a platform for raising political awareness in Nigeria. The influencers must sustain this power. The influencers must sustain this reach. They must teach how to demand for good governance, okay? They must sensitize viewing audience to take their civic duties and civic responsibilities seriously, to believe in the power of votes, and above all, the influencers must reawaken the patriotic spirit in the average Nigerian, the spirit of patriotism in the average Nigerian. Some African governments have recognized the power of social media and have made moves to curtail it, but we must not let that happen. There is an avenue for VPN subscriptions to help people stay connected in an event of a social media shutdown. Not surprisingly, the NSAS bubble burst, okay? NSAS ended almost without a whimper. We would do well to understand the pitfalls that led to the silencing of the NSAS movement, okay? When we understand that, we'll be able to guard against making such mistakes in the future. A post-mortem of the NSAS movement must address the problem at the roots, okay? The movement from jump, remember, it did not have any structural organization, it did not have any leaders. The movement lacked staying power. A catchphrase or a fancy hashtag can bring millions of people into the street in support of a cause, but without organizational structure, organizational infrastructure, the movement will lack staying power. It will be brittle and easily demobilized, okay? So what the government would do in cases like that would just be to wait for the storm to pass, and then things return to the status quo, okay? Permanent participators or permanent supporters of the NSAS movement were seemingly punished with a suspension, an indefinite suspension of their accounts. That's one. We saw moves to gaslight the general public by saying that deaths did not occur, by saying that what we saw on DJ Switch's live recording of the event, by trying to tell us that that did not happen, and insisting that the whole project was taken over or was hijacked by hoodlums. As a matter of fact, they were trying to say it was sponsored by an opposition political party to create unrest and put the government in a bad light. And when the noise died down, the problem now continued. Not only did it continue, we saw it become a hydra-headed monster, in that it now morphed into sustained insecurity. There was now more police brutality. There was now kidnappings as a business, especially when the government decided to be negotiating with the terrorists or with the kidnappers, and you know, other nefarious characters now bought into it and started making it a business. So at this point, are we to roll over and give up? No. Moving forward, if we are going to translate the momentum garnered by any movement like the NSAS movement, the international and national momentum garnered, if we're going to translate that into long-term changes, okay, we must have a structure on ground that will target pressure points in the Nigerian state in such a way that it is committed to making changes, long-lasting changes through policy, okay? That means that it's not just enough to say SAS must be disbanded. What is the follow-up action? What is the follow-up plan of action for an errant police officer that does not, that inflicts police brutality on the populace? What happens if people don't adhere to policy changes? Our online campaign must have an on-ground component that is targeted, okay, to maintain sustained pressure towards securing long-term changes. And we must figure this out before embarking on any social media movement, especially movements that are targeted towards ensuring good governance for the people of Nigeria, okay? Another factor that contributed to the undoing of the NSAS movement was lack of dedication to a cause, all right? A lack of unity of purpose, and a lack of patriotism, right? Paid informants, it's been said, okay? Paid informants and infiltrators became willing tools in the hands of purported government agents. Yet another group of paid hoodlums infiltrated the ranks and went on rampage of destruction of businesses and property. And immediately that happened, the government had the impetus as a duty to protect life and property. So they moved in and made to contain the protest, which had now been dubbed a protest by hoodlums. Okay. Notable celebrity leaders who were at the forefront of the campaign were rumored to have been bought over by government agents, okay? So we see those of them that once led the group started distancing themselves from the group. We also heard that political opposition seized the opportunity to inflict damage on opponents, okay? Burning down key infrastructure to truncate the opponent's outreach ability, I guess, in the hope that they'll be able to truncate the ability to send their political messages across. We saw that when the television stations were burnt down, okay? And so, my dears, NSAS panted and came to a painful halt. So where we had Sorosoke, we now had Soro Quiet, a very sad requiem for such a brilliant movement put together to demand good governance by the young people of Nigeria. But is this the end? Not at all. As long as social media is alive, the platform to voice a cause is alive and well, and we are here for it. However, we must recognize and guard against the mistakes and pitfalls by committing ourselves selflessly to the cause of liberating and building a nation. To do this, people must cultivate a genuine love for the state of Nigeria, for the nation of Nigeria, okay, and its people, all right? We use the NSAS movement, okay, and its debacle to draw analogies on how social media could be used as a tool for creating political awareness and promoting nation building, okay? Now, we have arrived at a point where we have stated that patriotism is a key ingredient in sustaining the commitment to the cause of nation building. I mean, if you're not committed to a cause, you can gather all the international and national support. If there is no commitment to the cause, it flickers out like a candle in the wind. So patriotism will be that one binding force that will keep people committed to the cause, okay? To examine patriotism, let us bring to light the life and times of the greatest influencer that ever walked in Nigeria, in the person of the great fella Anikulapo Ransom Kuti, okay? That will be the OG of all the influencers if there ever was, okay? In so doing, let us draw parallels by comparing how patriotic he was, how committed he was to his message, and how passionately he delivered his message as he worked towards the emancipation of Nigerians from state control, okay? Fela was a Pan-Africanist. He had a message which was to liberate Nigeria and indeed Africa from state control, from colonialism. He sought to rediscover the African identity by honoring and respecting our culture, right? Okay. He first shared his messages through editorials in the national newspapers. When the government moved in and shut him down, he moved to the shrine. He shared his message out of his enclave in the shrine, okay? Throughout his activism, nobody could buy his voice. Nobody could settle him. That's the Nigerian parlance for bribing people and bringing them over to sing another tune. Nobody could settle him. He was not interested in having the biggest cars. He was not interested in owning the biggest homes. His activism was pure. His delivery was genuine and his passion was unquestionable. And his legacy lives on till today. How many of us can claim that our activism is that pure, okay? The so-called influencers and freedom fighters today cannot claim to have a message so pure. They cannot claim to have activism unfettered by the law of money, power, and easy life. The formula today seems to be, you wake up one day and insult the government and talk about every negative thing and say every negative thing about the government with the hope that they'll give you an appointment. And when they give you an appointment to get in that office and having no idea of the demands of that office, having no idea of governance 101, the people get in there, and the next plan of action is how to perpetuate themselves in power by using the resources of that office to pay their cronies and establish a network of loyalists who will help them with their ambition to the next line in their, the next powerful office they are headed to. This seems to be the stock in trade of most Nigerian officials, and it is a crying shame. This also seems to be the formula that is being curtailed by most of our influencers. Now, some influencers are being bankrolled by old recycled politicians to sell a propaganda towards laundering their own image, okay? So these old recycled politicians hope that they'll be able to secure the goodwill of the masses, a goodwill which they pray will translate into votes that will return them to power once again, so that they can continue to enjoy the spoils of our common wealth, okay? I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm sure you all know the people I'm talking about. This is not how to be an activist. This is not the type of influencers we want. This is not how to secure good governance. And this is definitely not how to build a nation, okay? Sadly, the orchestrated and sustained poverty in Nigeria renders the people so helpless, okay, that they are pressured to collect a few worthless naira notes and mortgage their future. Influencers who are committed to nation building must rise above the settlement syndrome. We must rise above the short-term gratification for the sake of long-term sustenance. We must rise above the settlement syndrome for the sake of laying the foundation for a stronger and better Nigeria. Okay? Yes, the influencers can make their money from product endorsement, but where a politician tries to buy your mouth, where a politician tries to tell you what to say, give you a little bit of money and tell you to sing his praises to high heavens, we must refuse that, okay? Please, let us cultivate a dedication to the cause of rebuilding Nigeria, okay? A few hashtags. Let's consider a few hashtags now. Hashtag no negotiating with kidnappers. Hashtag to build a nation. Hashtag 100 million jobs now. Hashtag stop kidnappers now. Hashtag stop social media begging. Hashtag register to vote. Hashtag protect our votes. Hashtag enable diaspora voting. So I would also encourage influencers to liaise with organizations that are working on courses, okay? Courses that will help liberate Nigeria. First of all, build an organizational infrastructure, okay? Second, marshal out a plan of action. Outline objectives that will effectively curb the mayors. Then, build an online and offline movement to sustain pressure. Amplify this by going national and international, by getting everybody you can to lend their voice to the cause, okay? Keep this going until your demands are met, okay? The hashtag demands are met, all right? So social media is here to stay, and we are here for it. I encourage all influencers to use all the powers and abilities that come with social media to help rebuild Nigeria, to help build a nation. Thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure.